I've been playing video games all my life, but there's definitely noticeable gaps in my gaming background. My first Resident Evil game was Resident Evil 4 on the GameCube, and I've never really had a chance to go back and play any of the games that came before it in the Resident Evil series. So with the release of Resident Evil 2 Remake and getting the opportunity to finally try that game with the over-the-shoulder gameplay that I've learned to love was really a dream come true, even if I never really got to experience the original.
You're here now, Leon. That's all that matters.
You play as your choice of one of two protagonists. Claire Redfield is the badass sister of Chris Redfield, who's searching for him after his disappearance. Along her journey, she'll fight to save Sherry Birkin, who's the daughter of an Umbrella scientist. She'll face the darkest parts of humanity, and we're not talking about the zombies here. She really has some dark character-building moments that are just fantastic. Meanwhile, Leon Kennedy is just some guy who's upset that his new job hasn't called him back in a couple days. Seriously, the biggest surprise about Resident Evil 2 was just how lame Leon was after experiencing his story in Resident Evil 4. From his motivation to go to Raccoon City in the first place, to blindly going into the sewers because Ada Wong just told him to, his character is just bland at best. Ada's character is alright, but her genuine interest in Leon seems pretty unearned, and Ada's personal involvement in the story feels completely unexplained. It always seems like this is more than a job for her, but it's never explained why. And I'd really like to delve into that.
Sorry, that information's classified.
The game features A and B scenarios for both characters, which are slightly different in item placement and puzzle solutions, but it's mostly the same game. Resident Evil 2 is tense, the atmosphere is perfect, ammo is scarce, zombies crawl in through the window and mess up your face. I jumped out of my skin so many times when a zombie came back to life because I didn't feel like I could waste bullets shooting their heads while they were down. All the zombies are just disgusting. Other than zombies, your big threat is Tyrant. He's this unkillable war machine. In my first playthrough, I didn't know if I was supposed to fight him or just keep running, and then I decided to run away and he followed me into the lobby, which was always a safe room up until this point, and he just plows through the door and he goes, "Hey, what's up?" In later playthroughs, you'll figure out how to dodge all of his attacks and know which rooms are actually safe from him, but that first playthrough is really insane in how tense it can be because of him. I also want to touch on the map in this game. It might be the best map in any game that I've ever seen. I definitely can't think of one better right now. It's got it all. Not only does it get the basics right, like telling you which room you're in, a thing that a lot of games don't get right, it tells you the names of the rooms in case you find a note that references it later, it gives you colors to show you which rooms you've completely looted or which still have things contained in them, it shows you items that are still available that you may have seen but haven't picked up yet, and anytime you encounter a locked room, it'll tell you why it's locked, so when you get the key item later to open that lock, you'll know exactly where to revisit. I get that this type of map might negatively impact other games, but unless there's a reason not to, I really think tons of games would benefit from taking some cues from Resident Evil 2's map. And on top of that, the trophies get a bunch of things right that many games just gloss over. All the trophies are tracked in the in-game menus. Xbox fans have been kind of spoiled this generation by getting counters for every achievement, but for those of us still living in the last generation on PS4, this feature is sorely missing in a bunch of other games. And then all the trophies unlock something in the game. I mean, sometimes it's art, sometimes it's a skin, sometimes it's an infinite ammo weapon, but the point is there's some in-game reward for getting a trophy. And that's really nice. That really brings me back to why I really got into completing things in the first place, because there was some sort of in-game reward, and games have kind of gotten away from that. As far as specific trophies go, the collectibles aren't too bad. There's notes to read and bobbleheads to shoot, and while they're spread across both characters' playthroughs, they're not really that hard to find if you're looking for them. If you want to use a guide, there's some good ones out there, but you really don't need it. There's a bunch of miscellaneous trophies that you'll probably get on your first playthrough, or if you don't, they are relatively easy to clean up. The only problem is that there are 10 trophies that require beating the game in some fashion. If you throw out the ones that are just generic beat the game, quote unquote, you still have 7 other trophies. You have to beat hardcore on both characters. You have to get an S rank with both characters. You have to beat the game with 14,000 steps or less. You have to beat the game without ever opening the item box. You have to beat the game without any recovery items. It's a lot, and your instinct is kind of to combine playthroughs, but sometimes that doesn't really work out. Things that are obvious to combine, you'll probably get the 14,000 steps trophy along with one of your S ranks, because that would require you to beat the game very fast, and if you're beating the game fast, you're probably not running around that much. It's also worth a try when you're going for a hardcore run to try to get an S rank, because there's a really good infinite ammo weapon that you get for getting an S rank in hardcore mode, and then you can turn around and use that weapon in the other character's hardcore run. The only thing I wouldn't recommend is doing a hardcore run while going for Frugalist, which is beating the game with no recovery items. This is something that I tried to do, and it was just a nightmare. I made it all the way to the last boss, and I just could not beat him. I tried for so many hours, and then I just threw in the towel, and I healed. Really, you can beat a dedicated Frugalist run in about 2 hours if you know the game pretty well by that point. So it's definitely worth it to not try to force yourself to not heal in hardcore. It makes sense to combine Frugalist with Minimalist, which is no recovery items and no opening the item box, because then you don't even have to worry about picking up healing items. Play on the easiest difficulty setting, smooth sailing. The only other trophy worth mentioning is the 4th Survivor mode, which is a hard mode that lasts about 10 to 11, 12 minutes or so, and it's basically a run through all of the different areas in the game to get to the front of the police station. And you have a limited amount of items to do it. I will finish this video by showing you my run of the 4th Survivor. Overall, this game is amazing. If you like other Resident Evil games and you haven't had a chance to play Resident Evil 2 like me, it is worth going to this game. It even has me excited to maybe one day go back and play the original Resident Evil 2, even though it's fixed camera angles and I know it's a very different vibe, but I'd be excited to see the differences. So to close out this video, here is my run of the 4th Survivor mode to laugh at how bad I am at this game.
I'm at point K-12. Need info on my extraction.
Guess there's no keeping down the Grim Reaper, huh?
My extraction point.
I'm headed toward the front gate of RPD. Pick you up there.
Done. another way out.
Heads up. The guys at the top just ordered a full cleanup on Raccoon City, so move fast. You can kiss your ass goodbye.
Got it. Why'd you come back?
I wanted to meet the Grim Reaper.